if it was love in my heart. Called you my bubbly bear. You have such great hugs of love. Didn't make much sense, but I think I got it right. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. Oh, what a feeling I've got inside. Love and life in Angeles City, love and life in the Philippine life. Day after day, something growing in your mind. We met on the moon, you were dancing in the dark from the start. Could it be the feeling of love? Could it be the feeling of love? Could it be the feeling of love? Could it be the feeling of love?
Hey, good morning. What is going on? Hey guys, I'm just taking my vitamins. Thought I would drag you guys along with me. It's the end of the month for YouTube, and the electric bill was, electric bill came in. Time to pay the light bill. 8,600 pesos, which is about 150. It's almost as much as our rent here. Now, to an American or an expat, that's really actually cheap to pay 350 for all utilities. Well, that's not all utilities, but basically. Anyways, I'm dragging you with me. So as you see, it's just me and the pets. I don't know how long I'll be on today. Could be 30 minutes, could be 30 hours, who knows. But I'm doing Q&A. Let me know if we're doing drama. Let us know if you guys are wanting to be coddled today or you want me to bitch. So good morning, good morning. It is 9:45 a.m. here. Cats are wound up. Part of the housework is done, and George nowhere in sight. Yeah, I know. I'm a lot of coffee, and I'm just like, well, here's the thing. Like when I get focused, I get everything done. And I get it done like quick. It's funny. I always talk about the difference between men and women. Like if I ask George to find something in the kitchen on one of these shelves, he'll never find it. I get it. He's not a very good hunter, but like women, we seem to be a little bit more organized and everything. But where it would take him hours to get something done, like chores, it doesn't take me long to get it done. Even with my health issues and size and everything, I still move like the wind. So I'm like, slow your roll, Heidi. It's like you got all the stuff done, the sweeping, the mopping, pets fed, cleaning outside, and doing all my things. And I'm like, no, I gotta slow down, absolutely slow down. So I was like, live stream time and talk with the people. And I want to say thank you guys. Our numbers are getting up there now. Where are we at? About 23,000 people. And for those regulars that come in, thank you for being our people. Thank you for being here because you guys are our people. And I just want to say, like in a digital world and political world and everything, we still love you guys as people. So just understand that we are here to help. We're here to entertain. Um, I'm. You want to say hi, Mary? Want to come say hi? I'm supposed to give Mary a bath today. I think she's going to need one every 2 days. You want to say hi? It's okay. Want to say good morning? Look, look. Can you say hi? Look, look, Mary. Look, it's okay. It's okay, little puppy. See my little puppy I found. Oh, puppy. There, look. Say hi. Want to say hi, dirty face? I'm gonna say hi. Boo-boo. She always looks like a puppy. She's not a puppy anymore, but she looks like one. There she is, stiffening up, like George said. I can't get her to relax, Mary. We've been looking at dog costumes because Halloween's coming up. There's like a doctor one. There's a dragon for like Chinese New Year, but I don't know if I'm gonna splurge $40 to put her in a dragon costume. And Chinese New Year or whatever that is isn't till February anyways. So say hi. You look weird. It looks like George judging me in the morning. So Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah. That happened. Sarah's talking about, was that really a monster cat? Yeah, and that kitten, I sent her a video. I call 'em memes, meme videos, and it shows this kitten staring down. Yeah, it was like the father nursing on the mom. And it happens. Mary, calm down, sweetie. She's tearing into the couch, but yeah, yeah, by myself, all by myself. Yeah, well, I actually Scuba Steve. So yeah, like I said, we mentioned, and I'll mention this for those that watch part time, for those that know us, starting about a year ago, we had taken a small break. And then it's because George was becoming more involved with his granddaughter and his family. I'm not going to jump out of the AC to run over there every time. We are very independent people. We spent the whole pandemic on top of each other, literally. And and so, a lot of people think he's whooped and everything, and he doesn't go. George is very independent, and he's going to do what he's going to do. He doesn't care. And so, he also does part time where he does his own projects on another YouTube channel. And he's a gamer, so he spends part of that time being he's retired. So he does a little bit of everything, but mostly over at the family house, and his uncle has been sick. No improvement on that. So he's always in and out. So just like I would be back in the US, it's it's me here probably 50% of the time or more. So my dumbass has been getting into true crime, or I've been getting into the frontier life. Sarah, did I send you that talking about? I watched the Donner Party of Three, and I was George and me was watching it the other day, and it showed it had Meredith Baxter in it, and it showed they were a rich family. I forgot they were the other side of the family, not the Donners, but they wanted to take the mother-in-law, and I said out loud, and I was like, "Don't go." And the mother-in-law's like, "Well, I got all the ways of the life, and I could tell you how to avoid this and do that." And she said, "I'm not leaving without my mother." And he goes, "You really should stay with the brother." "I'm not leaving without my mother." And I said, "Yeah, Donner's gonna need a snack." And so she went, okay. And then me and George is sitting back gaming and stuff, and he's chilling. And the mother-in-law passed away. She died of dysentery or something, and just being a little older. And back then, I think people died like at 60, probably 50. But George says, "There goes Donner's snack." It's like, so we were watching that, and we've been getting into, what's the other thing? That's because there's a show on HBO called Frontier, and so it kind of got us looking into that. And the Gilded Age is on HBO, so all that Gilded Age money coming from traditional wealth, and I'm like, nobody hundreds of years in my family. So, but anyways, we've been enjoying ourselves, and I'm yammering on coffee. But yeah, it was George is hilarious. He goes, "There goes Donner's snack." Jeez. So, but questions. Let me know what you guys are up to today. I really don't have a whole lot of wrap up. We got cut off yesterday. That power was out for a little bit. So for those that kind of missed the live stream yesterday, came on, I had an echo. I was in the library situation. We haven't done that in a while. And I guess being as we were in that area, the cats were over there with us. They were going under the bed, and it must have been because we have the bed in that area. I guess it pushed against the wall, and uh it was pushing around, and it was like all over the place. But George came in the middle. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. George came in the middle of the live stream, and it was just a mess yesterday. And then we got cut out altogether. And we had the echoing problem. That's what I guess I was trying to get to, was the echoing. But um, that's about it. I guess it is different doing live streams when George is not here, because I guess I'm not able to interrupt him, and I can yammer, and because I always got George as it's like, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's like, and it's a different live stream. for sure. Hey, MB is in the house. Hey, Chosen One is in the house. Saturn Day, huh? From the OC. But yeah, not a whole lot going on for the week. We covered the homeless guy. As a matter of fact, I think we were getting a response from the gentleman that interviewed the German guy, because I was in my Facebook today and it comes up like the people you've researched recently or if they had anything new out. He put a whole thing about vloggers not knowing their steps and they really shouldn't judge and they shouldn't say nasty things or whatever. And it's like, oh, please, pussy bitch. I'm like, I'm going to say something. You know what I mean? We get a whole $160 a month, and that's really just, by luck and, all these other things. Social media really doesn't pay unless you're out there lying and putting out crap and working your nubs to the bone kind of crap. Like I've seen vloggers here in the Philippines where they do a video every day, a live stream every day. They're editing all the time, their own stuff and all that. And I'm like, no. So I'm not going to sit there and hide that shit. That German guy is crazy. And what, you want me to coddle this guy or something about him being here and begging on the street and everything? And it's like the way he put it, and especially when that shit got translated, I was like, I pretty much had both middle fingers up at that point. And I'm like, whatever, dude, you and the other dude are making money off of it too. And it's like the truth is I don't get paid enough to shut up. I don't get, it's not underpaid, overpaid. George might be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, oh, bullshit. See you in court, bitch. It's just where it gets. But it was funny how he reacted. And I know part of it was addressing us because we had contacted him. And so he was evidently aware that we did the live stream. And then a couple hours after that, he put out a weird statement. And I'm like, well, that could be addressing us. So what's going on, Scuba Steve? I gotta love Scuba Steve. Hey, looking beautiful as always. Thank you. Aging really quick. So at least the steroids is being a little bit more kinder and stuff, because I'm still losing weight, still eating healthy. Although I fell off the wagon, I had a bag of chips. So I've been doing this now for what, 3.5 months, give or take. And every now and then George brought a breakfast sandwich when he came in from his uncle's because he had not eaten. And so, I mean, it's nice to lose the weight as I should, but most of it is because of lupus and menopause and aching bones and gotta watch the salt and learning all kinds of things. Like I've been drinking coconut water, but now the doctor's saying something about too much potassium in certain vegetables will not help me either. So it's kind of a messed up situation. So I had to slow down on the coconut water. So I just do what's trying to, make me feel better these days. So, hey guys, calm down, kids. The kids do these laps. They run to the corner of the living room. They run up the stairs, and they run to the bathroom. And they're all over the place this morning. And good morning, Sarah. Yeah, the power outage. Yeah, I was starting to get into the power outage. As I said, George came through and disturbed the live, and then how the echoing is what I meant to say, and how the bed and the cats were up underneath there. And that's what I thought. I thought we totally just had the cats unplug everything, but no. George goes, after it went down, he goes, no, everything is down. He's like, it's dark in here. And it's funny because you'll see the cats. It's almost like they can hear it or something, because it kind of, when it just goes dark, they just start staring around and stuff. Scuba Steve's birthday today. Happy birthday. Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of, it's not something daddy, not daddy daycare, but it's the one with what's his name is where Scuba Steve. But is Scuba Steve really a real thing, a real action figure and all that? So something daddy is the name of the movie. But it's a cute movie. Happy birthday. Yeah, 200 on the electric bill, which if you got to think about it, it's really high. That's the one thing I've been trying to understand here lately is the cost. It's absolutely like driving me nuts. I even was talking to AI yesterday about, I said, why is the Philippines so extreme on that? Where you can't make any money. It's hard to get jobs. You can't make back the money. And it's, the fact that electric is almost more than my rent here. And the same with groceries here these days. Even the vegetables are on the rise here. I just seen a restaurant that was through the Grab app. I was looking at different things, coffee and something else this morning, and there's this new place where they want six cookies. They want $13 here in the Philippines. They're putting New York on the title. It says New York artisanal cookies. Which what does that even mean here in the Philippines? I'm not paying 13 goddamn dollars for cookies in the Philippines. And it's me and George like to try new things and new coffees and go places, and George is more of a shopper than me and way more than a foodie than I've ever even thought about. I mean, the man's always bringing something. He's like a 10-year-old kid when he comes through the door. And I'm like, I'm not paying goddamn $13 for cookies in the Philippines. It just and everything on their menu. And I was calculating, I'm like, that's $4 for a coffee. And I've been finding when I look at his pesos, it seems way cheaper. And then when you calculate in the end, it's $3, $4 coffees at all these shops. I'm like, hell nah. So I just got done watching a video down in Tondo where there's 13 people living in a room the size of our living room here. And they have all their clothes folded up on a bed at night. I don't know where they put it. I guess down on the floor, and they have one washer in there. And that's how they live, one fan, no AC, no nothing. And it's because they work, save their money, send it back to the province, which hard saying how much money, and they all share rooms. Some of them aren't even family when they do this. And I just couldn't imagine. But there's a big portion of the Philippines where their incomes are just absolutely low. And I'm trying to get by on expat salary here. So, but anyways, I digress. Hi, Pigsy. You want to say hi, Pigsy? Look at Pigsy's tail today. Pigsy, you just look really cute. Can we talk? Let's talk. Want to say hi to everybody, Pigsy? Say good morning. I know, don't lick the microphone, please. There's Pigsy. She got away with everything in the beginning. I thought her tail got ran over. Her tail didn't get run over. I picked her up as a kitten outside, literally outside of our gate, and she's just deformed. She's just a product of her dad having the same tail, who comes around and eats, and then there's another white one around here, looks just like her, but yeah, thank you. What was that? Sounds like they got in the cat room. I've been itchy this morning. I was dealing with something last night. George is always like, I always say, kind of passive. He won't admit. I don't care if I say it's hot and his face is on fire. He'll say, it's okay. And so, like last night, everything was off. It felt hot. It felt sticky. And I know the AC's on. We have the dehumidifier. Then I started getting itchy, and then everything went off, and I've been itchy with an allergy thing ever since. Hey, good morning, Jeep Man. Good morning, Corner House Cobalt. Let me know what you guys are doing this morning. Yeah, I've been getting into everything, including the 90-Day Fiance. Now I start watching the 90-Day Fiance now that George's been spending more time out. Once the house is clean, I'm done talking with family. I do whatever I'm doing. I've been watching that. I'm at the old season where there's that Filipina and that young boy with the glasses, season 5 or 6 or something. And he's coming to the Philippines. He's here already. Of course, for years, they've already had a baby, but it's the one where she's so jealous and he's jealous of her. They sleep with the phones on. Like when the girl sat down with her family, the phone was on and he was sleeping, and it was crazy. And I'm like, I get it to some extent. But since then, they've had a baby. I guess he's the one that paid for the house, and they've got a current YouTube channel, which is so. And the same with their Facebook. but they hooked up with No Neck Ed's woman recently, and they're both in bikinis doing the the TikTok dancing, and it was the weirdest video I ever seen. But they've hooked up together, all of them, and I'm like, wow. So now some of the stuff that I've seen him put out is like, okay. So now I'm just watching the whole thing unfold in their relationship. They've had a baby, but I guess there's been a lot of issues. Like at one point, she said she had cancer, and she even opened up a page and was collecting money, and they called her out on it. And she said, "Oh, well, it was just a scare." And once she got called out on it, and then a bunch of people sent her baby gifts, she sold the duplicates and other things instead of returning them or refusing them or doing something about it or giving back money or something. But she sold them and got caught on that too. But there's been all kinds of stuff. So I'm like at the total drama thing. But and let me know any shows, guys. Let me know a good like mini series or something that's really good that's out. We got Prime, we got the HBO Max thing, we've got the Netflix. So we do. I do so many board games and trips to the mall and different things, and it kind of, it keeps me off of watching certain YouTube where you got all this misinformation going on in the news and all the local drama of the vloggers, and so me and George just want to chill. So probably the darker and the macabre, the better. Just it's like, wow, their life's really messed up. And George is like, next, this is boring. Oh, good morning, Laura. Good morning. I was just thinking about you. Yeah. We see your content. We just don't always. I need to stop being so lazy on. I want people to respond to our stuff. It helps push it through the algorithm. Like the more comments you guys make, the more it'll push our video out. And so, and then me, I just get like lazy. I'm seeing people's stuff, but I need to start interacting with it also. But we've been watching. Okay, you're probably on the other one, Sarah. You're probably on the second channel that usually we put the pet stuff on. So there are two different thumbnails that are out right now. So you're probably on the second one, which helps, by the way, Sarah, because we're close to monetizing that one too, which it'll probably pay out about $10 a month, but it's $10 for this guy. So we spend more, 1.5 times more than we make on the pets and taking care of the ones outside and any maintenance and anything else, and then of course the rest of it's apps. So there is no real profit. So really it's just me being narcissistic because I want you guys to just admire me. Yeah, I renamed it. It went from I talked to George about it. It went from Antics Live Talk PH to I've had it Philippines retirement. Like I've had it. And so because that's where we've dropped some of the other videos. I've been talking when I go to the market, which is just up the street every week, that I probably should record when I interact with people, but the same with George's walkabouts. It's now secondhand for us to actually do that anymore. We go places, we just don't record anymore for multiple reasons. So, but that's probably where you're at. Yeah, it says there are 4 people in there right now. So no, it helps if you guys stick around and watch and ask questions. Let me see if it'll say. It says, actually it shows there are 6 people, but it's showing you are the one in there. Yeah, there's 6 people in the room, but you're the one commenting. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you want, it does help to stay in there, but if you're wanting to see people's comments, you have to flip into Philippine Antics. But I appreciate it. And weirdly, it doesn't tell me here on the streaming software or page. I can see it on the phone. Hey, what's going on? Sperlin Edwards is in the house. And yes, happy Sunday. Sperlin and Penga checking in. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Sunday to see you, Heidi and George. Yeah, it's Sunday. I started out, I watch Grace Church that's in Florida. It's the one my daughter goes to. And I was listening to their message this morning, and basically, it was a pretty good message this morning, but I won't preach too much about that one. But basically, it's just saying that, that it was just good. Yeah, I'm not going to get kind of like politics. Sometimes I get into that, and really, I don't care either way. It's the backbiting on both sides. The same with religion. Everybody's has a religion and all that. But I watched it this morning, and the cats, were all around. And then every Sunday we do. They get like wet food, and it's got like big chunks of fish in it and everything. And the dogs get special treats, and they get their snacks. And so Sundays is another cleaning day and cat day and everything. So, uh, yeah, so yep, Sunday here. But I start out like that every morning as I drink my coffee and wake up. And LG, yeah, put on that blonde wig and makeup. Blondes have more fun. The haters will change their tune, right? Yeah, on certain days it's fun. I've got several of them, and I thought about it, but I don't know how long I'm going to be on this live, and I get super sensitive to the makeup and wigs, and I can only wear them for so long, and it's really not to look cute or anything, or I would shave my head and wear them all the time. Although sometimes I do see myself in the blonde wig, and it's like pow, and it's kind of funny, but hey, Curtis, what's going on? One drawback to the province life is I need a molar removal and will have to travel to Manila for the surgeon. Don't want to try one here in our little. I don't blame you, man. That was like George when we were in Mexico, and I agree with you on that. They have a lot of good ones here in Angeles City. Um, by the way, with the airport and the new rail coming through, they're literally going to set that rate at the airport. And so it's going to cut down where we pay the private drivers to take us into Manila or Makati or whatever. They're going to do like airport to airport situation, and it's going to take like under 40 minutes or something. Where in traffic, it could take us 2 or 3 hours to get from where we live, and it's less than 100 miles away. And so the only thing I'm thinking is, being they're privatizing the airports, people will skip Clark and go over to Manila because the price difference is like $150 or something. Sometimes it's $200 or $300. Wouldn't people just go to Manila now and just take the tram instead? But I'm sure they've thought about all of this stuff. But that's coming, and it's going to cut down time for people to go back and forth. Probably bring in the riffraffs, and the riffraffs will be leaving out of here in Angel City to go over there. But when we were in Mexico, George had, he's always getting some dental work done. There was a guy that he did one thing for him that was an emergency while we were in Mexico, but we were in a really small town, a couple hundred people. But the landlord that owned our places, her dad was the dentist, but it was really scary in there. It looked like something from the 1700s. All the equipment would look super old. The chair, the setup, it was just old school. Okay, I'm probably exaggerating. Probably looked more like 1930 or something. But yeah, it's kind of scary. But nope, that's the only drawback. That's one of the big reasons that we talked about moving out to Tarlock or someone where further out, is that now initially we didn't have the e-trike, we didn't have the car or anything. So we've got that covered. But now if you need a hospital emergency, like remember my nosebleed a couple years back, it's probably been closer to 2 years. That was bad. Because my platelets dropping and my lupus, I just started bleeding out for no reason. And I thought it was because my nose was dry, and then after the test from the doctors and everything, it was dealing with my lupus. But I should have went sooner than later, instead of just sitting around bleeding out and stuff. But I could not get the nosebleed to stop. But in emergencies like that, that's why we stay here in the city. um, yeah. Scuba Steve. Happy birthday, Scuba Steve. Hey, Scott and Isa is in the house. Good morning. Right, chosen one. Electricity in the Philippines triggers my PTSD. I'm in Thailand in a hotel aircon, including for $20 a night. Yeah, because when we first got here at the other place, we didn't have the unit, the split con. We had a standalone that looks a lot like the dehumidifier here. That cost us way more in electricity. I didn't realize how much power that was pulling. Initially, I tried the AC the entire house like we are now, at least the downstairs. We don't the upstairs. And that was crazy. We had two units and we ended up with like a 13, 14, almost a $300 electric bill. And that wasn't all day long. That was 12 hours, like at 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. We would run the AC in just one room. Man, did I bust George's chops on that. George said slightly it would be hot here. I should have took him more at heart, but George, a lot of things I initially didn't get out of him, but I didn't know I'd be sitting in one bedroom of AC. I thought the whole house for one, I thought it would be cheaper, and so did George, but cost of just there, it's out the roof. And the Philippines has the highest electricity cost in Asia, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And then we have the power outages, and where, like, yesterday everything just went down. I mean, good thing we have surge protectors on everything. People won't believe electric is way more expensive here. Yeah, a lot of things are. That's what's blowing my mind. Although, when it came to retirement, I was reading some things yesterday that the Philippines is in the top three or four on countries in the world that's inexpensive. But can people deal with the infrastructure and the traffic and the accidents? That's another thing. The amount of auto accidents are getting crazy. And I get algorithms will feed you these accidents, but when you look, they're like all the time, and people will put that stuff out here. I mean, you can see all kinds of stuff here in the Philippines, but can they deal with the infrastructure and the animals and the beggars? And that's another thing. Geo left. He went on over to Thailand, and I think these were some of the things that were bothering him. But the cost is on the rise. The problem is you can't make the money to replace that, and jobs online are getting more scarce because everybody's getting them. And then you got AI taking over, and then the qualifications, and you want to bring that job with you when you leave your country to begin with, and it's a mess. Things are getting more expensive. So, nah. Yeah, I was just saying in the beginning, I've been saying that I'll be doing live streams. So he's out. Uncle is sick. Family time. So, yeah, he's always out doing something, probably 50% of the time. I don't always go with him because I wouldn't do it in the US. I'm not going to do it. I have not changed. Some things have changed me here. Matter of fact, I think for the better, where I've got more patience. But for the most part, I wouldn't follow him around in the US. I'm not going to start doing it here. In the beginning, when we were dating, we were stuck, like hip to hip when he wasn't working or something. But I'm just not going to. I hate the traffic here. I hate the traffic and getting in the car. And George hasn't fixed the AC, so whether we use the e-trike or the car, there's no AC in it right now. And the smog in Angeles City is just ridiculous. I don't care what anybody says. I hate getting behind the jeepneys and every time we go out, I got black up in my nose, my skin's itchy, and I just don't tolerate. Well, I'm too fair skinned and too lupusized where my skin just breaks out super easy. So I was a homebody to begin with. So my cancer sign, literally in multiple ways, is just shows through that I'm a homebody. So I've been here for almost 5 years. I just you know I just don't see going out all the time. Better for me to sit in the AC and watch 90 Days and waste my life here like I would in the US. So airfare to the Philippines is cheap currently. Oh, okay. 800-900. Yeah, I know they've been dropping. So I've been seeing that. Actually, surprisingly, it's been dropping everywhere. I talked about maybe between now and our birthdays next year, we've been talking forever about Japan and possibly Thailand. And we were going to go to Thailand. That's when we decided to just go ahead and do the permanent residency instead of leaving for a vacation, coming back and renewing that way. But no, the prices are dropping everywhere. So Japan, Thailand. So that is good. I think I told you 90 Day Fiance contacted me, in 16 to see if I wanted to be on. Told them I wasn't dramatic enough and I was staying in the Philippines. There you go. It'd be like the other way around. No, I noticed that of course the people they choose, they make sure they've got some issue like these kids do where they're jealous of each other. And then of course they script along with it. All of them are scripted, although you got a portion of it that's real. It's what they're wanting. You've got to be dramatic. And I told George they ought to do that one where they deal with people in retirement, which they're not going to do that. It doesn't meet the entire like environment of people that want to watch that type of stuff. And I couldn't see it. That's just something where they have the cameras and you got to carry the cameras, and then everybody's more up in your business than what we're doing now. It's bad enough now, people in our business, but I couldn't imagine it that way. So I have no idea, LG. Whatever happened to Mike, the controversial guy who did lives every day, was frequently a guest? I wouldn't say frequently. You're talking about MYK, and that would be Michael. A long time ago, but poof, gone. Did he get banned? I have no idea. That's been over a year and a half ago. We get people that'll ask every now and then. Um, when we first got here, and both of our channels were small at the time. We had met up with him at one point. It's before the boom of the vloggers arrived, and we knew he was Filipino, and he had been in and out of here where people were doubting it, and really a nice guy. Salt of the earth, super, super nice. And don't know. I know he started appearing on other troll channels and people were trolling him. Then he got hacked and he talked about that on his channel. Then he was fighting that John guy, and there was all kinds of stuff. And we still get a form of a blame for that because we let him on our channel, that we are part of him. And then someone accused us from the US a few months ago that Mike is running our channel currently from afar. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just like, it's the damnedest, strangest things but he was on every now and then. I mean, I wouldn't say it was every time we had a live, but if there was a topic like John or something, he would come in because he always had the link and he'd say, "Oh, let me on, let me on." Or the funny time that I keep talking about is when he attacked that other British, I believe the British guy's name is John. And George was the one that let that bitch on. And I was like, that day he was coming on to explain his side because they've got a fascination with each other for a long time. And George let MYK in the room and they ripped into each other. And ever since then, that's when the British guy had a problem with our channel. He's never let that go. He slowed down, but yeah, he's had a fascination since. But no, it was said that was what happened, but he proved to a bunch of people that it wasn't, and some other vloggers know what happened. We haven't heard from him at all, and we had contact with him. So, but you know who I did see that existed, and he's probably still creeping around and watching, is Andy Omar. Somebody said he passed away. He went back to California, something and something. And I was on Facebook and he messaged us forever. And that handle that he used, even George verified, he left a comment on the Angel City expat. It was just a regular answer. And I was like, hi. So I knew it was him. So he is still active. Whether he's here or not, or went back to California or US or wherever he went, it's hard saying. He got doxxed heavily. It said it was another vlogger. They tried to say it was us, and don't know, but he did leave comments on Angel City Expat here within the last week or two. And I was like, so he's still active, and I don't think it's a girlfriend. Have no idea. Hey, Mike Kelp. Have no idea. Didn't know a Santa Claus. I think there was a guy that called himself that, but you guys got to understand how many vloggers are here. Like I said, there's a realm of people you guys watch, Old Dog, Mike, and Geo, and all that, and we stay in that circle of about 20 vloggers, and so they feed you guys different stuff. But ever since a couple years ago, about 3 years ago, tons of them are out there, and then you guys don't even have even the tip of the ice, and everybody used to think everybody knew each other. Just depends, but I think I slightly remember a guy that's got that going on. It's always cheaper in the West Coast. I know people who fly Midwest to California, Philippines. Yeah, yeah, leaving from California is cheap. Just like when we left from California. We left from Los Angeles, so that was a long trip. We went from Mexico City, so we had to drive through the mountains, and we were dropped off in Mexico City, and then we went from Mexico to Los Angeles, and what a mess in Los Angeles. You you know, at that time you didn't need to be vaccinated, but they had shut down the country to everybody, including Filipinos, at some point, and George and me couldn't get in, so that's why we hung out in Mexico and sat it out. And they didn't want to let us in based on marriage, and we had all the papers, and then finally we got on. It was just a mess. But and good morning, Thera. Also, if you want to go to Europe, just fly New York and fly from there. It's 400 or so round trip. And I'm surprised with the gas prices and the economy that it's that it's going down. From Maryland one way is 1,600. Yeah, I think it's cheaper if it's from the coast and everything. Me and George ended up paying like 4 grand, and that was one way during the pandemic. But remember, we did have Mexico, the whole trip, Mexico City to Los Angeles, and then so it was a multi thing. We did have the extra luggage because everything was we both brought a few suitcases, and but it was ridiculously expensive years ago. It was crazy. LG, I've seen tickets 1,600. No way, that's 1,600. Yeah, probably. I would say business is probably even more expensive. We didn't go with the economy. We had the one thing up is where ours was. But like I said, it's the pandemic that did it. We had by the time we got in to Singapore, it was Philippine Airlines. It was empty. There was nobody. There's probably 6 people on there. And when we came in, we had to sit at Clark. This is before Clark was remodeled. It was kind of really old and dusty, but it was. They said there were a bunch of rules, and we kept seeing things from vloggers over here that were here currently in Filipinas, and it was nothing like what we were seeing or what they were asking for. And we even had our driver. We had to stay in 2 separate rooms and pay for it, which was costly. But he stopped at Jollibee and everything else. He wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to go straight to the hotel room. Then when we got to the hotel, people were leaving all the time. Like they were supposed to be locked down. There was nobody watching anybody. So literally, you would see people going in and out of the rooms and going out for the day and coming back. Me and George, of course, we go try to go by the book. So we stayed in them rooms, and George slept the whole time. I'm busting his chops because I thought he was just ignoring me as normal, and it wasn't. He just didn't feel good, and so yeah, I'm just itchy. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's this microphone. I always said that. 90 Day Fiance was a good show in the beginning. Now it's all overplayed, scripted, and nonsense. Yeah, for the most part, it is. It is really scripted. I know there is truth to it, of course, but most shows are. Most YouTube channels are severely scripted. I, you know, I, you know, it's hard for me to do that, but I see now, like on the internet, where they have these AI drama, soap opera dramas they do, and I'm like, and then you'll see 30,000 comments on something that has 100,000, and all the comments are like, well, first off, they're AI, most of the comments, but there are really people in there interacting. I'm like, what? So, yeah. Mm, yeah, just feel like, of course, with the cats, feel like cat hair. Economy. Ooh, now I'm cold. Ooh. George is the goat. No, George is a wow. I mean, all I can say is you could only imagine, like in the beginning, here's the deal. In the beginning, he was extremely quiet. We were both doing a lot of like going out, traveling, camping, no matter how I was off the chain or in a bad mood or whatever, he just went with the flow and just seems to be at one point he just about had it, and then it's like, ooh, he bites back, he's spicy, and George can be freaking spicy now. And that's got to be the Latin side of the Filipinos or something, because he is spicy. And when he gets pissed, I just don't say nothing to him. You guys think he walks on eggshells with me? You guys have heard me talk about that shit. It's sometimes quite the opposite. So we're both emotional at some point, and then it's just like, goodbye, go see your family, and I'm gonna sit here and do my thing. And we adapt somehow, some way. But you can't tell George nothing. Like he wants to be he wants to be mother hen to some extent. Like he loves the cooking and cleaning and loving, and that he pretty much, I handle like the meds and do all these different things, but he still has to be in charge too. And he will flex that all the time. George will flex on you like, oh shit, you don't want to screw with George. That's all I can say, is that that's just the way he is. Yeah. And I'm telling you, he is greatest of all time. Yeah, a lot of people had made statements about George going to Walking Street like that would be something unusual. George does what George wants to do. He was down there all the time, and he could be down there right now. I mean, I don't keep tabs, I don't put shit on his phone. I trust him, and even if he is, not going to change my life. My life's going to go on just as it is. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Da-da. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, they're in there talking about the price. I'm assuming you're talking about people in general, not me. Okay, but I'm sure you're making a statement about the world. Blogging in general, you shouldn't talk about things you have no idea about, spreading false information, which is true. Now, most channels and stuff that I've seen here lately, kind of like that girl on the German one, it was indicated he was homeless. He's not. He's got an apartment. Two, it was said that the girlfriend was a gold digger, which was not true. And even he redid an interview, but people don't wait for the information. And when it comes to news stations, they keep circulating the same lies, and you can talk about things you don't have an ideal about. You can make it a conversation, and people can try to inform you. People's opinions and talking is some what I would call a God-given right. We're all going to talk, but what I do find funny, especially when it comes to me and George's channel, other channels, that the same people that come into our room are hypocrites that'll go into these other vlogging channels, and they're all spreading stuff and they're all giving misinformation. And because they're an expat with a Filipina and an age gap, there's a big difference of who can give an opinion or not. And I know so because I've been in those channels, and the same people are on those channels, and they don't say nothing when they say the shit. And it is what it is. People have the right to their opinions for sure. But, you know, and as I always said, if it's us, call our ass out. Okay. I mean, 100%, because go ahead. It's just where it is. Never been to Mexico. What's that? Is that dad coming back? Huh? Can always tell sometimes when he comes around, because sometimes the cats they'll just sit up on the furniture and look towards the door. One of them is staring at the door, but that could be you can hear the iron gates outside where people come in and out. There's like a row of duplexes here, and but they sometimes think it's him. Never been to Mexico, but I will go this year. I've been learning Spanish. Oh, cool. We were in the mountains, Chignahuapan, and honestly, I thought about it the other day. I was like, going back at the time, about 5 years ago, it was cheaper than the Philippines. When we left Mexico in the mountains, we paid double when we got here. Groceries, rent, electric. We had a 2-bedroom place with electric, and no matter it was heat, AC, or whatever, anything that we wanted electricity wise, food wise, but the electricity and the rent was half the price. We paid under $100 for both. And that was them hooking gas up to our house also. They heated the water by gas and the stove was, and it was all under 100 US dollars in the mountains. And now we pay several hundred just to meet that. And at first, we were only having a part of a day in AC, and honestly, it's not the whole house. So at that cost of electricity, the whole upstairs is in humidity right now. So, but I liked it up there. I discuss it every now and then. I get these crazy thoughts, and I'm like, because we'd be closer to the US where the family is. And I'm like, no, the costs have also gone up there now. So I, with everything going on in the US and with Mexico and travel, I myself would wait. So, but if you go to the right place, it's, but I liked it in Chignahuapan. It was a lot of mountainous people, and it was really fun. We had a good time there. I'll pass on the cow tongue. Yeah, it was like George. A lot of our Mexican videos are currently on members only through the YouTube. We put a lot of the old ones over, and he had it's a barbacoa, and basically it's like all the goat stuff. Like they had goat head meat, and they had the cow tongues and the goats and all of that stuff, and we had a lot of fun. We are going to build another house near Butuan, still rural, but 15 minutes from medical and shopping. That is cool. Yeah, I seen the video. That's really nice. I'd like to. My fear is one, just the deal on the lands and the builders and having the money, and the situation of, God, I just can't imagine. I'm more worried about the bugs and everything, the wildlife in general. It's bad enough here. We mostly just deal with ants here, but I couldn't imagine all the additional bugs, snakes, and love Mexico, but only in resorts like Cancun, all inclusive resorts, the way to go, unlimited alcohol. I had with my sister, we had went to Belize, and where was it was what was the other port of call? But it was one of the greatest trips I ever took. We went to like 3 places, and it was more than a week. Here's the thing, though. I don't think I'd ever do a cruise again. I was not with being told. I was just stuck on a boat and couldn't get off. If I'd have been on there another day, I'd have probably jumped, but I don't know. Uh, the food was, it was okay, and I liked the entertainment, but I enjoyed more spending time with my sister one on one than anything. But I get that on there too. I seen your shit before, Ari, and hell no, that's probably you. Never gonna do it. Why would I apologize? The man came on the show. This person is talking about that British guy that wrote a newspaper article, and we had the proof, no misinformation of the shit he said in Dog the Philippines. And then his woman came for never. We don't know that man nothing. And then it turns out that he's here illegally working a job online and everything. Mr. White, why don't you go somewhere? Because I'm pretty sure that's you. Nobody else would be sticking up for him at all. So there was all kinds of stuff that was black and white. He was putting his own information out. He was running not one, but multi money collections online. And it showed where he had the, no, he wasn't sick. Those things didn't happen. He lied. It was proved. He came online. No, I don't think so. You tried to leave a comment before. I'll address you now. That's a hell no. Next. Great life to do what you want anytime. Yeah, they say boredom is a luxury when you get to the point where I'm looking for ideals of shows and me and George can come and go. We don't have to worry about bills, which if we were still in the US and we stuck around, the business, unfortunately, a lot of people lost their businesses and there's a good chance we could have at that point. So he would just be working another job, but he was always working. George is a workaholic. So now he gets to spend time with his family and come back to the Philippines. We get to spend time and everything. So it's a luxury and it's a nice thing. So good morning, John. Good morning. The Philippines is way more expensive than Thailand. Yeah, they were actually saying that. Um, I had heard that they're in that top five too, along with Vietnam. I'm just getting my tablet here. When it came to Vietnam, was the other place that was listed. Riddle me that, and it's 10 times as worse. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. That's the other thing with the infrastructure versus everything. I don't get why the Philippines isn't getting ahead. I don't. Maybe it's all the backbiting. That's why it's hard when George is here for me to say things because I'm in somebody's country. I'm not supposed to say nothing, but when people are in my country, they say shit. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I think there's a lot of backbiting in government and corruption, and it's just where it is, as in any country, you know. But that's why you technically don't get into politics, and that's why it's just where it is. What else? I was watching Bud Brown this morning. His daughter had him and his daughter had a dual live stream. Also, I seen Bud Brown probably a month ago. He discussed getting his medicines online. Eh, I I had some curiosity. Only once did I do online meds in the US, and I here, if you go to certain pharmacies, in my opinion, they're watered down. So we stopped going to certain pharmacies. We go to Watson's. But I looked into a few of them. I just don't know if I could trust where they want you to transfer money to them and if the meds are going to be real from India. And I don't know. It's kind of helter skelter at that point for self pay. I'd rather just, if you've got the money, you might as well pay and not cut out. But it depends on what you're trying to get. And but yeah, I was just looking here on the tablet because I see where I was watching that live stream. That sausage was off the chain. I had forgot at the bottom of the deep freezer there was pork, and so I put in all the spices and put a little bit of Muscavo, which basically Muscavo sugar is healthier, but basically brown sugar is just Muscavo bleached out and just more processed and not as good. But sugar is sugar; you really shouldn't have it. But I put a couple tablespoons smoked flavor, paprika. I put in like cumin, thyme, sage, and man, those patties were off the chain. So basically, I had an all protein diet short of the sugar and the coffee here. I was just thinking about that. This was really cool. Yeah, Gurr, I'll get to you in a moment. I see where you asked, how long did you guys live in Mexico and for what reason, as a question further down. We were in Mexico for 6 months. Um, we came here 5 years ago, and the Mexico border was closed. And we decided that with the employees that George had a business for 10 years, it was just going downhill. That's when they were giving out the checks during the pandemic. They would take them $2,000 checks, disappear for a week, and then try to come back. And George would give the job back. It's his business. I couldn't do anything about it. And they would leave and come, and leave him with extra work and hiring and firing all the time. And so we were dealing with that, and the fact that we were going to come to the Philippines anyways. I was already retired, but driving part time, like Uber and trips back and forth to Miami. I had a registered business in the US to do just part time driving, and it was more out of boredom than anything. And we just said, let's go, because we knew we were going, but the country was closed even at that point. So we were like, what country can we go live in with under 100,000 US dollars in savings and be able to stay there until the Philippines opens? Because his family's here. That's why we came here. You had asked that question, why. It was our end result anyways, and just happened sooner than later. So about 6 months, we had the country wasn't open. We sold a bunch of cars, his motorcycle business, everything, and then drove and went through Florida, through Texas, stopped through several states, took our time, basically vacationed all the way through. And the border was closed. We were taking a chance they were going to let us in. If they didn't, we was just going to come back, and we still had savings. We would just came back to the US and waited. But we took that chance, and they let us in. So we have that video. We have the video. I believe it's like a 2 hour video that shows where we couldn't show the border. You're not allowed to have cameras on, but we showed like after and right up to, and the hotels. They had a ton of military up there at the time. The whole hotel was full of military at the what they call that? It's not Johnson, Texas. Trying to think the name of the small town, but we came through the Texas and dropped in and went through Puebla and everything. So about 6 months, and the tickets were really all it was really crazy expensive at the time. So uh well, he's been home. He's already done that. So he's been there and taking care of that. Hey, what's up, second win? Thera is saying to Chosen One, yeah, my German friend left Thailand and moved to Bohol. I'm hearing some things are cheap in each country. Like I'm hearing the food is fresher, but it's hard to communicate with the women. And everybody's going to have like their opinion on how they want things. Infrastructure, they're saying is better in Thailand. Some things are expensive, some things aren't. It's like a real balance. So shouting out from Taeyong. So just random, just like I've done. I have mentioned since last year that I do them. Boredom, just say hi to the people. I was up at like 5, got a bunch of housework, made food. George is with his uncle and family. It's Sunday, and just like, why not? So a push for the end of the month, I guess. Yeah, it's Sunday. Yeah, correct. Sunday the 24th already. Yeah, we got cut off by the power outage. So yeah, random lives to kick the algorithm for people at different times. I probably really should save this and do them in the evening too, because we get a whole separate group of people that come in because of the time change. Too many Johns and Mikes. Yeah, there are a lot of them. And the part of the people were here for that drama a year and a half ago, the Andy drama, the all the backbiting on the different channels. We call them some of the deeper trolled channels. And Mike MYK started falling into those channels where he just used to talk shit about people, and he always picked like on John, the British guy. Like he used to go hard, like 5 lives in a row were about him, and he let the other guy get to him, and it's like that is a little excessive. And so, and then he started going to other channels, and some of those, dive deeper. They said he got hacked, so it gets kind of crazy. And they say that the Philippines vloggers are some of the and people, the expats can be some of the most toxic, but I think they're just toxic people. I said that it's toxic here, so more than any country I've been in. Just could be a bunch of bored, retired old people, is my guess, and bored would be the word. I get it now. I mean, I'm here 5 years, and now that George is spending more time with his family, and we're becoming more independent, and I'm learning to do things like in the beginning, I liked it when he was here to help me deal with like delivery drivers and like when we had packages come from overseas. But now I'm, getting to be a little pro here. So he goes out more and he feels better about me being here. We're in a safe neighborhood. And so uh, yeah, just where it is. So more lives. Hey, Ruby. Good morning. Fun fact: Thailand doesn't have any power outages. I was telling you about the 90-day fiance, and the guy lives in Africa, and the girl came from America and brought her mother-in-law, and they have a lot of power outages. But I checked. While I was watching that, it's more expensive to live in Africa. We had a vlogger here a couple years ago that left here and went there and said he was going there to live cheaper. And I just can't imagine. The costs seem to be higher according to the internet sources. Now, I haven't been there, but and the crime, when the power outages go out, there's a lot more crime there. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I was just trying to figure that whole scenario out and why she would bring her mother with her. Kind of, I don't know if I'd bring my mother to some of these countries, including here. I would actually wait and make sure I was in a good subdivision. And me, I just take care of business if it's me, but I don't know about bringing, I don't know. It's one thing adjusting yourself, but bringing in, a grandkid or a mom or something would be rough. Hey, good morning. I don't know if I put you up there yet. Hey, hello. So I will be Santa this year. Lease my costume is in my Billy Buying box halfway across the water now. This morning we got this cat food this month, and it's got the face of a cat. And both me and George at the same time, George's like, I'm going to cut that out and wear it as a mask for a costume. And it's really a creepy cat with orange eyes, and I thought it was really funny. So it was funny. Where's my glasses? For those that don't know, fun fact: I had the LASIK eye surgery years ago, and back then it was 5 or 6 thousand to have mine done in Tampa, Florida. And my sister had it done further down the line, and ever since I've had that, my eyes dry out really bad. I got to use eye drops, and fans going is really bad, and having cats with fans is really bad. So my eyes are already dried out, but I have a bad stigmatism. But the other problem is it doesn't fix reading, like some things up close and stuff. So things still get blurry. Things from a distance, I can see everything and read even the computer here. But if I have to look at the little teeny tiny writing that's on my phone, which is tiny, it's rough. So I was trying to look at a future comment here and do both, like George said. So then these are my online readers. So but yeah, earlier we were talking about the electric bill. Yeah, because I don't have the nice try, Conan. Conan 3 times in a row actually has asked for an apology. Not sorry, bitch. Not sorry at all. But thank you for the comments. Because I'm like, am I imagining that you've asked 3 times? And if you're not, simp on top of a simper, you're the actual British expat. And when I say the British expat, I'm talking about that dumbass that keeps talking about us. That could be who you are also. But either way, you ain't effing getting that from me. You want it? There it is. There's your sign, bitch. There's your sign. That is for true. Magadan Umaga, Heidi and chat crew. What is going on, Victoria? Good day there in Australia. Yeah, Australia would be a place to go to. That would be a thought. I don't know. Huh. I am working on a trip now. Next May to Australia. Sarah says he keeps himself a foreigner. Was putting his life on social media, and he didn't like that. He does his own thing. He built a house exactly like Thailand. Opened a veranda in the back. Oh, sweet. Hey, Victor is in the house. Yes, guys, be sure to do a thumbs up. And I like the comments that are coming in for sure. This is good. Ruby's asking Second Wind about where in Australia he might be coming. Yikes, $14, yeah, for a cookie. Actually, it was 3 of them or something, or 6. It was under 6 of them, which made it $2.50 a cookie. And I ain't been in the U.S. People are like, oh, you don't really know the price of situation. I know it got goddamn expensive. But when you're here and you can't make the money, and a banker and a police officer is making less than $20 a day, and half the country is really in major debt and poor, paying $14, I'm like, who the F do these people think they are? It's just like, put my pimp hand down and my bitch slapping hand down. It's like, you would charge $14 for cookies, or I'm like, what the, but I guess it'd be like in New York, for certain things that you pay for. But I'm like, I don't get it, because when you go to these shops versus just ordering online, there is some price difference. People are like, oh, it's because you're going to order it on the app is why it's like that. No, I've been to the shops. It's not much different. And then when you go to the shops, it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't meet expectations for the prices they're charging. And then there's a bunch of others that are charging the same price. I don't know. I just can't see it. More and more, we've been cooking more at home than, where we were doing it a few times a week. We were going out to eat or ordering something here, and now we just do more cooking here. And so, Ruby, don't even speak Tagalog. She's been in Australia a long time. Chosen one. Oh, yeah. Sydney, Melbourne, and Port Lincoln to cage dive with the great whites. Yeah, I'd like to get a photo of that. Who's Conan White? I'm sorry, Conan. Hope you're doing okay. May he bless. Yeah, he was that British guy that was in the paper, and we covered him, and we brought him and his girlfriend online. They went back and forth. And basically, in a nutshell, that guy tried to say that he ended up in the hospital and got bit and ended up on the street. Then he complained about the Filipinos that took him in, and turned out there was a whole nother story. You could go and watch the videos, but he disappeared for a while, and recently we started receiving an email where I think he is trying to tell us, Conan himself is trying to tell us, that his ex-girlfriend is making propositions to people online. It just went back and forth, but basically the guy admitted a lot of it that he was saying wasn't true. Then he tried to turn on us on his social media, like literally where he was collecting money. He was using us and saying that we were causing issues, and he was lying. He got caught in a lie. George was going off on him, and it was it was actually hilarious. So even I went off on him, told to take his ass somewhere else. But in my opinion, he wasn't a good guy. Hey, what's going on? Ugly Tourist is in the house. What is going on? You're an Angelus, aren't you, Ugly Tourist? You're about to have that baby, I believe. If I remember. Where? Yeah, I'm trying to find your comment in here because I can't check here. I can't check the. That's there. Yeah. Yeah. You're the one. Yeah, you're gonna have a baby. I've seen your content. Yeah, quite interesting. Yeah, quite interesting. You go to the um yeah. So quite interesting. I don't know if I'd have a baby at that age. I thought about that the other day, and I wish you luck on that. But then again, I'm not in that. Women and men will think different. Like if we had a baby, it'd be me doing all the work. Just like people don't understand that I do most of the work here. Nobody's doing, my work. And the benefits of George being here is he's a nice guy. That's the bottom line. It's not like, that he's a lawyer bringing in a shitload of money. He doesn't, you know, he's not manually building a house or, large bank accounts and all these other things that are going on, like all the benefits. But to have a kid at this point would be on me to do most of the raising, and it would just be rough. So I mean, I guess, with the age gap, I wouldn't want to leave the kid behind situation, but I also understand too. So, but welcome. That's wintertime in Melbourne. Shark season. And Victor saying hi. Chosen one as always. That's where the other guy needs to go sit down somewhere. uh, not much anymore. I thought about that. Like I said, still doing the same shit I'd be doing in the US. I thought about that the other day. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I've got to because I'm in the Philippines. And adventure is going out and feeding the animals or something and getting stuck in the heat and stuff, and people going by and getting caught by the kids. George is like, now that you gave those kids candy again, he goes, they're going to come around, which, knock on wood, they haven't been back, and we haven't had any other issues with the trash guy. And I'm like, well, thank God for that. But I told George he gets upset when I do that because he's like, well, then everybody's going to come around. And I said, but you know what? We haven't done it in a while. And the same with the AIDAs. We haven't done it in a while, but he gets like really upset. And I'm like, I get I told him there's enough tourists and enough expats living in our area that, they can go bug somebody else. It's not like when I first got here 5 years ago and I stood out like a sore thumb. Okay, I stand out like a sore thumb. But for the most part, I think during the pandemic and a little after, before the tourists returned, me standing in an SM hypermart, I did stick out really bad. But now there's expats all over walking up and down the aisles and stuff, and it's not as bad, but it still can draw attention. So, Shark Week. Donna, Donna. Did you guys see that Dancing with the Sharks? I was like, I don't know about that. George goes, that's just ridiculous. And they're really not technically dancing with them. I didn't think they would go that far. To me, that's just a waste of production. Maybe they just feed them to the sharks. That's what I would like to see. Oh, there's old negative Heidi. Feed them to the sharks. And then they let the sharks dance afterwards. My wife's coming in November. I can't wait. She's bringing my diving card. Yeah, you know, I I don't know. Someone mentioned about me going somewhere and learning diving and all that, and it's like, oh no. First off, I already know I'm a big girl trying to squeeze into that suit, and I know they sell suits big enough, but I just don't know about that. Not that it's just not my thing. Like the mountain climbing, never has been. I mean, roller skating, and I've done some drag racing and things like that, but I can't see. Be interesting. I'll go sit on the beach and say, hey, if I get burnt. Booked my round trip to Oregon lesson 2 weeks ahead. Best price was 1,400. Okay, there's a cost. Yeah, yeah, and of course we answered that question. Mexico was quite interesting. It was the pandemic. It just I couldn't see at that point. Um, we both were looking at possibilities of like problems. He was working so many hours, and George is such a nice guy, and people were gone for 2 and 3 weeks, and they would come back, and immediately he'd say yes to them, and giving their jobs back. And I'm like, oh man, how can you even consider that? And then he was dealing with, scheduling, and then they were throwing rules on what he could and couldn't do, what was essential and paperwork for people. And it was just a mess. So, yeah. Hey, Science and Beyond. When I fly to the Philippines, should I use travel agent to change my flight plans easier? I plan on getting a tourist visa and trying to renew it as many times as it let me. Well, well, it depends. I mean, are you talking about? I mean, the best one that I've used is Kayak, and there's a lot of people that would agree and disagree. I don't know about a travel agent. Now, if you're talking about once you get here, you can use them to renew your visas if you want to. Some people just prefer to drop it off and let them go sit in an office for a while. In Angel City, you have to wait a few hours, and usually we would just go to lunch when we did that and go shopping and do other things. But others don't want to stick around the mall or whatever. So you can use agencies. A lot of the expats use it. Probably cost you another $20 to do that, but you will need that outro ticket. So, kind of hard to change flight plans, though. You could still do that yourself online. It just depends if you want to pay those fees. But you would definitely need an outro ticket. Beer and bathrooms sounds like a good song. Beer and bathrooms. Yeah. Well, he's awake. He's not here. That's why I just heard the gate again. I thought maybe he made it in last time. He had left early AM, so he kind of takes turns with his daughter, and he's got a ton of family. Mostly he just wants to help and be there. So he's just there hanging with them and stuff, and they have food together, and George will go and get him things. George feels really, responsible, and he's responsible about, family life and everything. And no, I would agree. I've talked maybe more towards the Christmas time, as we've been talking about. I had to just do where, what I had to do? I had to get out our GoPro or something and just keep it on. But like I said, I don't know, there's a lot going on to do that. But yeah, I need to. Now to just do it, yeah, with the cell phone be the easiest thing. So if your destination in the Philippines has Bureau of Immigration office, you can extend it without a hassle. However, if there's none, maybe an agent could come in handy. Yeah, or if you're not going to where there's immigration, kind of like Sunshine Shoulders, he has to get on a boat to go into town. Some areas you go to, it's not as easy to get the immigration. Then, yes, paying a local agent would be worth the hassle, or filing for a long term visa. Understand, if you're doing an SRV, a lot of the at the office they'll do for free. But if you're doing permanent residency, you could pay 3 times the amount of what the visa's worth for long term like that. So you got to watch that also. It's just better to file. But also, you won't get a hassle either. A lot of those agents just go in, do the paperwork, and get things done. So wife and I spent 10 days in Bangkok, was really impressed with the cleanliness, infrastructure, phone, and Wi-Fi, but generally I found things to be a third higher than the Philippines. Yeah. I'd like to see Vietnam, Bangkok, Japan, Australia, but, you know, until I make that money somewhere else or find a way to do it, I just don't feel safe digging into remaining savings. We went through a lot of money when we got here. We went through part of it when we were in Mexico. Like, nothing was really furnished in the house. We were there for 6 months, and I thought I could just live with what we brought. Then I was buying a microwave. Then I was buying this and a fan, and we started buying everything when we were there. So we started with a house full of stuff that we left behind. Then we got here and decided on furnished versus all-inclusive places, because it was going to save at least $100 a month, because you're looking at 15 and 20,000 pesos versus 10 to 12. So we figured that would be worth saving by buying, but then we start buying, and then it's like, oh, well, we need a side table for the beds, and then we need a side table here at the couches. And then slowly you're buying things, and we were burning through things. A couple years back, there was that bad storm in Florida. So we were sending money to an aunt, and we started giving some of the money away, which we should have known better. I had a few medical issues where we went through some money. So we've really clambered through a lot of our savings. So it's a it doesn't take long to go through that. And in saying that, travel like that still costs some money. And so me and George, it's like we like to spend money, but on the other hand, it's kind of like, let's wait and see. But he's been talking more and more about Japan. So here lately, he wants to go see the Gundams and all of that. His daughter goes there all the time. So it was more about the pandemic that made you decide to retire early. Yes, which was understandable. A lot of people, yeah, yeah, we wouldn't have went otherwise. There was a rumor too on other troll channels that we were running from the lull and we did this, and that, and it's like it's trolls. And we know some of our people that are watching have watched these other channels, and that's why I'm mentioning it. That it wasn't. It was strictly that the business was active for 10 years and he was working 6 days, actual days, and then he was doing extra work on the side, and it just never stopped. He was getting 3 4 hours sleep, and then I started helping him at some point, and that was crazy. We were both fighting each other over it because it got stressful, and with the pandemic in there, then we moved in together, and then we were locked down with each other a lot, and so it was really a hell of a deal. And by the time we got to Mexico and sold things off, it was a hard time. And like somebody says, you want to know a relationship, get past the honeymoon stage, because in the beginning we were in that. We were always out on a vacation and traveling Florida and restaurants and shopping and spending. That's all we did was spend money. And we had plenty of cars and savings, and there was tough times like through the business and dealing with other parts of our lives and everything, but we were in a honeymoon stage, and then the pandemic, and then when we start packing and deciding to move, and then the trip to Mexico was really stressful. It was kind of scary, the driving through Mexico and everything, and adjusting to Mexico, and then of course adjusting here. It was rough. We've never hid when we fight on air. When you guys see me cuss them out and get up and walk away stuff, or vice versa, it's the real deal, because things can be stressful. We've never hid it and sit there and like, oh, it's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life situation. So, but yeah, it was just a push, because I told him, I said, yeah, we're going to keep going through the money, and I said, we're burning through our savings. Let's go now. And he was kind of hesitant. It's hot. Well, but he didn't hesitate either. So it was a chance for him, to finally chill. He had not had a vacation in years and didn't take any time off in years, and kind of a mess. I wanted to stay in Makati for maybe a month, then more near BGC for a month, and go from there, planning on living in motels. Yeah, I would try Airbnbs if you can find them, because a lot of those places are a fraction of the cost. Um, but make sure it's a super host and everything. There you go, Thera. Maybe I um, should do the 90-day fiance with my 27-year age gap relationship. Yeah, but are you currently married? Yeah, because their requirements are kind of off the chain. But yeah, that would be interesting. They do have, I thought they did have some age gaps in there. Yeah, LASIK is cool, but wait till you have cataract. Oh, yeah. You can fix both far and near. I love mine. Well, I don't know per se if I'll ever need cataracts or not. It's kind of hard. And I don't know. Can I afford any eyeball to be shaved off anymore? That was some scary shit now. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was recovering from that. And like when my eyes get dried out, it's kind of like when I get hungry. There's no in between for me. I just don't sit there and be like, oh, I think I want something. No, I either feel starving or I can't eat nothing at all situation. and my eyes just dry out. I got two sets of eye drops here because it just feels like glass in my eyes sometimes. So you'll kind of see where it seems like I got contacts, but um, yeah, kind of messed up. But I don't know. But they shaved layers off my eyeballs. That's probably why they sweat all the time. Yes, chosen one. Bifocals. George is starting more and more. You see him wear the glasses all the time. He didn't have to do it all the time. And I try to get him to wear the clear ones because the darker ones with the tint, it's hard to see his eyes anymore. So, yes, I see you, Mr. Four Times. I know you love me. I know you love me. I know you love me, boy. Hey, what's going on, W? What is going on? If you can get your hands on, yeah, the Sustain. Yeah, that's what they originally told me. Yes, you can. It's quite expensive here, but yes. They are over the counter. Yeah. Yep. What they actually were selling at the time when I had this done years ago was Sustain. Yeah. And I believe they do have that at Watson. So my problem with that is I forgot what they're more for me. They fuzz up my eyes. Not really fuzz, but it seems to have more of a oil like to it where it lasts long term. But when I put them in, it's hard for me to see for a while. But it does work. So if I didn't have multi fans and the AC going in here and the cats, that's my problem. I need to get rid of the fans and the cats. This probably would clear that up real quick. And so I hate that too. And sometimes it can happen being inside too often. Yeah, maybe need a new prescription. Um, well, I can't change the what's it called, but these are just the regular readers. It costs a few dollars here. Um, no, the LASIK is just, yeah, for the most part, we do. The remaining savings has to be oh shit ticket or a major medical. Right now, we don't have, like, we keep something in the savings because the AC we have already is already 2 years old. It's hard to believe we've been here almost 3 years in this location. And like George said, those aren't meant to last but a couple years. We maintenance it, we bring them in to clean it, we run the cycles, and we do everything fully. And we're still probably going to have to replace our AC in a few years. And so you just have to kind of, you know, um, just plan for other things, just things that you know that you need. But yeah, pretty much a lot of expats are. But we would be like that in the US too. So, we've never hid that we're paycheck to paycheck people, initially blue collar people. We weren't, we're just everyday people. Everyday people. Yeah, working or SS. Yeah, wages. Yeah. Love your attitude with relationship, Heidi's. I do exactly the same. If a man wonders, honey, if you ain't all that and life goes on, pretty much. And lately, I've been seeing these therapy shows, and when you see other people's lives, it's kind of like, oh damn, my life's together. If men are going to cheat, they're going to stray. Men, when they're cheating, usually cheat. They're not in it for love. When women cheat, they're in it to move on and to go into a full relationship. So it's kind of like if he's out there knocking the boots with somebody, I know he's coming home. And honestly, thank you for taking my work because it's like go ahead, honey. Like go ahead and knock yourself out situation. So in the beginning, I displayed a lot of jealousy, but I had reasons to. And with George here, I can't talk about that he ran the business with his ex. And that was rough. I mean, the fact they sat in offices and had coffee dates over business. And I'm like, yeah, it just didn't look good in the beginning. And I wasn't used to something like that. Exes were exes in my past. And I was usually always married, not dating. And so I wasn't used to exes being in anybody's past because my first marriage, the guy was military and 19 years old. He didn't have much of a past. So it's just kind of like I wasn't used to it and I didn't handle it well in the beginning. We've had discussions on that, but it kind of goes like that. But yeah, you know, la di da, move on situation from him being like, if he is, he isn't. Yeah, I mean, I like snorkeling and everything. Yeah, I like going to the swimming pools. A lot of the hotels around here have swimming pools, and Candy Palace is a place that I'm hoping that we can go more often and we can use their pool and everything. And I really need to. It's where I was getting a lot of my exercise, and it's, yeah. Yes, a good one. I always use travel agent at AAA, always about the same as the sites, but great layovers. Yeah, during COVID, she kept my unused return ticket alive for 3 years. Oh, okay. We ended up getting one, I believe, out of Indonesia or something. It was $60 for our outro ticket. So we weren't going to run it back to the US. That's how sure I wasn't leaving or anything. So, yeah. Can't use a lawyer for a visa renewal. I know that might be expensive and possibly unnecessary, but using some agencies might not. They have legit enough agencies. You just have to make sure that they are, and there's ways of vetting them. But yeah, I mean, I guess you can, but I don't know if an attorney actually. There is immigration lawyers. Yes, I would imagine they actually do that. So I like to use ASAP tickets for my flight with travel insurance. Cool. It's being down here right now. Rainy season. It's actually been pretty dry here lately. Buckets. Yeah, right. Bucket. You need to go sit down somewhere. I would like proof of that. Send a photo. Is she? Yeah, their time is up. It looks like they piped down for whatever. We seen that they just went back to doing the simping videos of using her, and so he had his time and everything where he was in some limelight. Now they're just up to the same thing, and we told you we just move on like we do most of them. So that's weird you would say that, because I was, before I started the live stream, I was watching the Grab drivers in Bali. There was another vlogger. He does that cinematography vlogging, and it was like an hour about a guy who does it all day. And it is a rough job, whether it's here or Indonesia, or, the guy was actually living in Bali. And it's crazy the amount of money and how they live paycheck to paycheck and everything. It's cheap to go there from the Philippines, and cheap in general. Sometimes expensive. Yeah, it depends. I would have to look into that because that would be interesting. Yeah, because I want somewhere that's in between that we can do something. Because we kind of, on our birthday, just did a bunch of little things. And last year we went to the resort, which was kind of costly, and it was really nice. And we took the full trip out there. But this year we just did a bunch of little things and dinners and stuff we kept on the down low. And, you know, it's something I've been wanting to do, and it needs to be somewhere close. And if you don't do layovers, it becomes more expensive. And so, budget traveling. So, I know, to be honest, you guys never left Mexico because you're actually close to Mexico, Pampanga. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we're like in between. Yeah, we're really close to the airport and everything. And yes, Mexico, Pampanga. 100%. You got that. Hey, Black Grandpa is in the house. I know we have to say all the time, girl. We have to say, "Oh, we're in, Mexico, Philippines," because when we talk about both, it kind of, yeah. Hey, what's going on? Black Grandpa is in the house. Cataract surgery is easy. I had new HD lenses put in. I see perfect. Oh, sweet. That's what I need to do. Oh, the refresh. Yeah. I use kind of these cheaper ones, but they actually work. They're called blueberry eye drops. If you There you go, a little easier. You can see it. Blueberries. Yeah, blueberries keep your eyes. See the dots in my eyes? Blueberries. I'll be there for Christmas in 8 days. Oh, it will be Christmas in 8 days. Yeah, we're getting there. Like I said, I was saying the last time they already got the stuff in the stores. Maybe visa free from the Philippines, though Bali's belly is really the water is not potable and don't ask for ice and drinks. Oh, not potable. That's kind of like that here. Although George is getting upset because I've officially sometimes not using our water filter when I do things. And George is like, I was like, it tastes fine. And he says, yeah, but all the sediment that's in there and the sand and crap in there, he goes, that's what's going to kill your kidneys. And with my lupus, he said, this isn't good. But sometimes I get lazy to turn it on because it's got like an on and off switch. It's just lazy. And so I like living on the edge, I guess. Uh, I always schedule vacations every 2 years to side with my visa runs. Okay. I don't know whatever happened to Chad to Dad. I haven't looked back. Usually we don't unless somebody like sends us something that says something. And even then, once we're done, we're usually done with the story. But did George do a dad to Chad business with his ex? Oh, I see what you mean. Missed that. When your work spouse was a spouse. No, because he got upset because he doesn't like any of his private life. And I'm like, believe me, I ain't putting your shit out there. Because believe me, there's a lot more. But what I'm saying is, I don't mention names. I don't go into anything. No, it wasn't like that. It's just they were still running a business, which he bought her out later, and he's such a nice guy. She took advantage of it. That's all I can say. Is she was in the wrong. It was a long-term relationship, beautiful woman. I mean, to me, she was absolutely beautiful. They were, just beautiful. She's tall. You would she's one of those women you'd say, why is she with George? Situations. It's just like, so she was the face, like he said, of the business. And uh, I, the fact that they were still working together, and then the end, there was a lot of issues. And so I stayed quiet about as long as possible. And George is a super private person. So then I felt he was just being dishonest. And I misunderstood a lot in the beginning. So we went through a stage, and it's, growing pains. But no, not quite Chad to Dad, because that bitch built a house next door and everything else. And for the Chad to Dad, no, she was not around going places with us or anything else. She had remarried and moved on, and that still didn't stop me thinking, negative thoughts. It was just rough in the beginning. So Al Short Jim's wife, um, Dophanus, like Pocahontas. I've been seeing a bunch of them here lately. A bunch of them's coming our feed, probably because y'all's watching them. And the one just did a story, and they're all linked to that Barbie girl or something out there in the islands. And I don't know, a lot of stuff. Dophanus. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, just to be safe. So those expensive items are catering to people who feel they need to feel important by showing they. I was wondering about that. I hope to cater to them so I can earn a living. I was thinking about that, Thera, that I notice it doesn't change in culture like the US does the same. So George is like, well, they do that in the US. Sometimes I feel they do it more here because I'm actually living here and seeing it all the time. But I do notice that I'm like, how are they able to afford that? You'll see these vloggers that cover it, and we know they're not making any money, but they still do it. And it's like, of course, you eat expenses as vloggers, but it does seem like a show off thing because there's just no way when you find out that you will see where their living situation or they don't have vehicles or whatever that they're spending that kind of money. It's like they'll go into debt here. That's what George is telling me. He goes, they're going into debt. They're taking on loans and them day loans and living paycheck or day to day. And it's crazy because I just can't understand how someone can pay 300 pesos for a coffee and 500 pesos a day, as a driver is what some of these bike drivers are making because they're not making any tips or something. I just don't know how you're going to buy a 300 peso coffee. And so it just kind of blows my mind. And it's not like we're living smancy. To Filipinos, some of them, they think we're smancy here, but not really. Our place isn't fancy. We don't have a swimming pool here. We're not locked in an expensive subdivision. We don't go to the mall every day. We just seen our neighbor come in the other day. He's got a new black car. They got a couple motorcycles, 4 or 5 of those expensive dogs, and he came in with a Nike box yesterday in a bag where he came in from the mall. And it's just 2 of them living in the house. So it's not like they got a bunch of people paying the bills. And I'm like, okay. It's just like, and I'm like, it was just the way that it actually was. Um, we've discussed this throughout. It's not giving any information out. George was married in the U.S. a few times before, kind of like I was remarried to him. I had, exes. He Okay, as far as I know, like I said, I feel George's life is about 70% private, in my opinion. Actually, last time I said it was 80% private. He has a Filipino adult child here and a Filipino ex. He wasn't married. He dated Filipinas here before he left at 18. He had a kid and he dated several before he left. In the US, he's dated other Asians, different cultures, Spanish. Um, but in the US, I don't think he dated a Filipina. So, but yes, he knows actually both originally before he left initially. Because we got into it the other day and I was calculating, we got into it on air. Afterwards, we fought about it too. And I'm like, well, which is it, dude? you know, you did, you didn't, whatever. As I was to originally understand, it's like sometimes I have to piece stuff together because he won't give me nothing. Like it's like a silent, that's my past situation. And I get it too. But I thought he was 19 or 20 when he left. He was about 18 when he left. So yeah, no, I definitely on that. Brushing the teeth. I use bottled water. There it is, bottled water. Most places you stay give you the bottled water, but you can buy it at 7-Elevens or supermarket. Yeah, I always try to put a few in the suitcase, and then yeah, we always get something from the stores, like when we arrived in Mexico and arrived here. That's for sure. But yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Do we have a top 3 best place to live in the Philippines? Um, Opinions are going to change. I've only been in the Angeles City area. From talking to other expats, they seem to like Cebu and Dumaguete, where the other expats are. I can only recommend here. I'm in Mabalacat. I've discussed that. We're really close to airport, so I like it here in Mabalacat versus Angeles. And then his family home that's oversized is on the other side of Angeles City. And so he grew up in Angeles City. I like it in Mabalacat because it's outside of Angeles, a little less traffic, but we still have traffic, and the rentals get less expensive, in my opinion, versus others. A little less crime, but we haven't had any issues in any place. So um, let's see. Let's see. I hear Cebu, of course, Dumaguete. I don't know. A lot of people like, I think it's called Greenbelt or something, and Makati. I've been to those areas. I'd like to live there, but I can't see spending 1,000 US to live in certain areas when I'd rather keep the money in a savings than do something like that and spend it elsewhere. But depends. Every person's going to be a little different. But I think the Makati Greenbelt for those that want to be fancy and they still want that US living. But I like being by the airport and the medical facilities. Ruby says we have 5 systems water filtration in place at our Philippine house. Yeah, ours is got 3 right now. Or Dofahantas, Bretta. I can see the power she has over you guys indeed, and she doesn't have any clue who you guys are. Obsessed always, honey. Glad she's making you guys happy. I'm not sure. Are you talking about Brenda? Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. All right, guys. Thought I would hang on here for a while, but I think I'm going to wrap it up anyways. Wanted to drop in and say hi, guys. Yes, I'm attracted to Brenda and Dofahanas's IQ. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for dropping in. Wanted to say hi. I actually was thinking about hanging on for a couple hours, but I'm maybe it's time to get some more work done, guys. All right, guys. Thank you for dropping in and leave your comments. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe, guys. I appreciate you guys all being in here. And thank you to all the members for joining us. And see you guys should be Tuesday if I don't decide to jump on here later.